I would like to address a concern that I have been hearing lately about God being a sadistic or psychopathic killer. They ask whether he is a benevolent, pacifistic God in the New Testament or the sadistic killer God in the Old Testament. First, let me point out that the conditions for God in the Old Testament were different than they were for Jesus in the New Testament. To address this misconception of being ruthless, sadistic killer, I would have to first go into the beginning of the world, specifically where the children of the fallen angels created a situation where God had to extinguish mass amounts of people. Let me start out at the beginning when God actually had a wife and the consequences from that situation. From the beginning, before man was created, the beings that are the beings that are in the same sphere as God ruled over everything, and God ruled over them. It was these beings that created or gave birth to the angels. Created or gave birth to is semantical because both achieved the same ends. It was during this time that God's wife went off and gave birth to an offspring. The Gnostics described this event as her giving birth by herself without the aid of a male. However, this is not possible, as all creation and birth require male and female to produce a progeny. So the correct assumption would be that the Queen of Heaven had an affair with one of the beings of the same class as God. This unsanctioned pregnancy resulted in the birth of a very flawed angel. Although the angel was highly intelligent and beautiful to see, it was because of his flaws that he considered himself smarter, more beautiful, more powerful than anyone else. God accepted him as a son for a time, hoping that he would accept God's ways and change, but it was not to be. Jeremiah 7:16-20, as for you, do not pray for these people, or lift up a cry or prayer for them, and do not intercede with me, as for I will not hear you. Do you not see what they are doing in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather wood, and fathers kindle fire, and the women knead dough and make cakes for the Queen of Heaven. And they pour out drink offerings to other gods to provoke me to anger. It is I whom they provoke, declares the Lord. Is it not themselves? To their own shame. Therefore, thus says the Lord God, behold, my anger and my wrath will be poured out on this place, upon man and beast, upon the trees of the field and the fruit of the ground. It will burn and not be quenched. The Holy Mother, the mother of Jesus, is not the Queen of Heaven. God's original wife, the Queen of Heaven, who is like God but below him. This is why the verse says, let's make men in our image. In the beginning, God created men and women at the same time. He created natural man with a soul attached to them because they were already on the earth. He also created Adam and Lilith, who were not given a soul because he had a different need for them. Adam and his consort were going to be the genetic enhancement of man into modern man, the image of God. Now, because God created Adam and Lilith without a soul, they were not bound to the earth, and this is why they were put in Eden. They were supposed to exist for a time in order to learn many things about how to be humans on earth. This is where the meaning of all the fruits that they had at their disposal to eat is clarified. The term fruits were used metaphorically to represent knowledge or teaching. Adam and Lilith had no need for all the various fruits as a food source because they were already eaten from the tree of life and had no other need for sustenance from anything else. It was because they were not bound to the earth that Lilith became rebellious and ran away from Adam and God's presence. While she was away from God's presence, she was pursued by an angel that had already been lusting for her, even when she was considered Adam's consort or wife. I'm not going to name that angel now, so maybe later in my narrative y'all understand who he is and why he did what he did. Now, this angel and Lilith had many children that would become known as the original demons because they were born as corrupt as their father. I will explain later on the three classes of demons and evil spirits that exist on the earth. During this time, Adam was alone in Eden, and God, knowing what his angel had done, told all the angels to bow down to the image of God, which caused this angel to become very angry with Adam and man. It was this very situation that led him to convince a third of the angels in heaven to rebel against God. This is going to just be a short segments, 4 segments to tell this whole narrative. Okay, see you for the second one. God bless.